Digression.
No. I'm not having it.
I mean, is it food we're talking about?
Definitely.
It's very juicy.
Come on.
But I'm just stating facts.
What were we talking about?
What's up, Josh? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm relaxed, rested. I'm recharged. You know, I came back from holiday. So did you. Apparently, you look good.
Thank you.
I didn't imply that you look bad otherwise. You always look bad.
I was tired before, man. I was, getting to my wits' end. Needed the holiday. Needed the refresh.
So, obviously, together with Josh, we talk a lot about food. We talk about, editing the episode, getting the food stories right. But one thing we always do when we do these chat, we digress. We digress.
Never managed to stay on topic. We've always got something that we're supposed to be talking about, usually the edit for YouTube. But we don't do that. We talk for 30 minutes about noodles.
It's always about food, though, but it's a digression.
It is, that's right. So I guess that's why this podcast exists.
Exactly. Today I wanted to chat about something that happened to me during my hike in the mountains in the center of France. I was sitting at the top of a mountain, casually, looking at the sun setting down. It was a beautiful scenery. Not even beautiful. It was just stunning, touching, moving. I felt human. I felt connected to everything around me. I felt... Anyways, you get the point.
I'm picturing you sat on top of this mountain with your legs crossed, out in the meditation position, just levitating a few feet off the floor.
Not exactly
totally
like
at one
this.
with nature.
No, I was listening to the sound, but also at some point I put my earbuds on. I was listening to some reggae music. I was, chatting with a bunch of friends that were there as well. And I was just, lying down in the grass looking at the deep, almost dark blue sky. Those not oppressive, not but just like...
Was this bad? Is this like sunset, or is it in the middle of the day when it's like...
It's like 5-6 p.m.
Right, okay, like that sort of pure azure blue, like it almost looks like the ocean.
It's getting darker. Yeah. It's like the ocean, exactly. And so I'm laying down, and the guy says, warning, you might stain yourself. And I said, what's... And then I look behind me.
What were you doing?
Exactly, I was just laying down. In fact, I was laying down in a bush, in a bush of wild, spiny things. And then I look deeper and closer into these, and I found some blueberries. And the guy says, eat them. They are the wild blueberries. They're amazing. And I've been buying blueberries here in Paris. They cost a fortune. And they don't even taste that good. These were tiny. They were scattered everywhere around me. Then I started to realize I had a few of them. They were very small, but super fruity, super tangy, super strong in terms of flavor, quite colorful as well, very dark in terms of color.
That's the staining thing, right? As in like
exactly. Far from being blue, they were like deep purple. Yeah. Exactly. It tasted amazing, and then I was just like overwhelmed by the situation. I was just like
started
sitting
crying.
there. I mean, I could have, but there were people involved, so I didn't want to, send the wrong message. So I was just like, living the thing. I was just thinking, this is heaven. There is food available at my fingertips. Now, a few moments later, I'm realizing how far from being a human have I been. How lost am I? How lost am I to just find this situation that extraordinary?
I don't know, man. I don't know if that ever sort of goes away. That awe and wonder at finding something like that.
I mean, I'm not a forager. I don't do foraging. I know you do, and I'm very much willing to hear what you have to say about this, because this is something I've been willing to try for a while. But just being able to pick up some food from a tree, from a bush nearby, just stretch your hand, pick it up, put it in your mouth, as simple as this. I thought this was mind-blowing. And then I thought, I'm an idiot. Because
why was it mind-blowing?
Because I thought, why have I been kept away from this simple act that seems to be so much part of who we are? So tell me, what do you think about this? What's your experience with this? I know you forage a lot. how do you feel when you pick some food in the wild? How do I start even in all this?
Well, I think there's I mean, you start probably in the same place that most people start, is picking some sort of berry or fruit that they recognise. I mean, like here, the most common thing, I don't know, it's probably, I'm assuming it's similar in France. I don't think many people have got qualms about picking blackberries. They're everywhere. People know what they look like. They're used to seeing other people picking them and eating them straight off the bush. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. I think generally people don't do that. They don't pick fruit from a tree outside and taste it and enjoy it. The amount of times that I've picked an apple from a tree and someone's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm picking this apple from this tree. Are you going to eat it? Yes. Oh, is that all right? I'm like, yes, it's an apple.
Are you mad?
Like, yeah, exactly. This is the thing. People think you're insane when you, they're like, but it's come off a tree. It's like, yes, that's where apples come from. Anyway, I guess the thing that I was going to get at though is there is something kind of amazing about that, because we're not in contact with that often. We're so used to buying our food from someone else who's done all this for us that we forget how, close to food we are, I suppose. Especially there's a thing it's like, right, I can see that tree there. There's the tree. There's an apple on it. I'm going to pick the apple off the tree and now I'm going to eat it. And it's like almost like there's a bit of the tree in me now because I've literally taken something from it and consumed it. You then feel like, oh, hang on a minute, without getting too airy-fairy. It's like, me and this tree are, I'm not so far apart from nature as I thought I was. Do you know what I mean?
But where do you stand in all this? Like, is it like a decision when you walk by a tree with apples? Do you even have a few questions in your mind when you pass by that tree, or do you just go and pick that apple in that tree?
I just go and pick it. I mean, that's for apples.
So I don't think it's the natural. I'm not saying this is not natural. This seems very natural, but I get why people around you would be just like, I don't know what type of tree this is. Are you sure these are apples, for example?
I'm 100% sure. Listen, I've seen a few apples in my time, and that tree is an apple tree. And I think
we lost confidence.
There's people we've lost something around that sort of thing. And yeah, like, you're right. I've been foraging for a while now, so maybe that has gone for me.
Yes.
That's not to say that I'm never cautious. Obviously I am, because when it comes to, I mean, it's not, people always think it's like mushrooms are the one you've got to look out for.
For sure.
Not necessarily true. There's plenty of things that you have to look out for. If you just go and eat any berry that you find off a tree, you could quite easily eat something poisonous.
Hold on a second. You just said something. No one would ever do that. You know what? If you were to eat like a branch from a tree that has like these white dots and, these wild fruits, you may have a problem. Well, nobody does that.
No, but if you were to example go into a woods and say, right, I'm gonna give you a choice. Either eat a berry from that tree, eat a nut from this tree, or eat that mushroom.
Okay, understood.
Even if the mushroom is the least toxic one, people will be like, I'm not going near the mushroom.
Yeah, I wouldn't go either on the mushroom. Yeah. Definitely my third choice.
There are so many more horror stories around them, but actually they're not that much more toxic. There are plenty of other toxic things in nature that...
Yeah, you mean they might be very toxic, but not much more than the others.
Yeah. It's like, for example...
very reassuring.
Yew trees here, they're like a yew tree. It's like a really ancient native tree. They're in like, gardens and they're in graveyards a lot. That's a total digression. I'm not going to go down that one.
Please tell me you don't forage in graveyards.
I have done. I mean, it depends if I've seen something whilst I'm there. I'm not like walking over the graves. If I see something away from that area, then
okay, fine.
Like for example, there was a cherry tree in a graveyard near to where I used to live. So if I used to walk through it on my way to work, so sometimes I'd go and pick a few cherries.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I'm fine with that. I'm not walking over the graves pulling
Of course
mushrooms
not.
up.
Of course not.
What was my point? Yew trees, yeah.
Yeah.
They are super, super, super toxic if you eat any part of the sort of the leaves or anything off the tree, except for the berry, weirdly, which you can eat.
What?
This is the thing. I guess what I'm saying is the issue of toxicity when it comes to forage things is more complicated than most people
I see
realize.
black or white.
Yeah.
It's either gonna kill me or gonna give me some pleasure.
No. All food, I think, is on a sliding scale of toxicity. You can have too much of anything in it and it'll be bad for you.
Could it? Yeah. It's weird.
You know, like if you were going to put like the destroying angel, right, which is a mushroom that I'm sure you can guess it's pretty bad for you. If you put that at the top end of the scale
naming
and had like, I don't know, water at the bottom end of the scale, then things are toxic on different levels along that scale.
Yeah, and even on that scale, when you say water, it's funny because I've been traveling a bit in the past. Water always is for me the most scary thing.
Oh yeah, like to take from like a river or something.
Or anything, or even from the tap, depending on which country you're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is always the thing that worries me. Water, the first one. And I heard so many horror stories of just people dying because they had water.
Yeah, well there you go. Yeah, okay, that's a good example actually then.
That's a terrifying one.
But
I wouldn't think about foraging if I were to just drink water. First of all, I'm not completely out of my mind. I would just filter it first.
Yeah.
If I were to be outdoor, I have a filtering system, so I would just filter it. But I would probably never drink it like this.
I mean, to be fair to you, actually, even though I do a lot of foraging and things,
Yes.
I probably wouldn't take water from a stream or something because, I don't know if that's been polluted further upriver or whether there's some sort of bacterial thing in it. I don't know enough about that field. I'm sure there's people out there that do know what they're doing and know that sort of thing.
But you would pick up a mushroom and just eat it, just because out of memories and out of expertise and knowledge that you've probably accumulated over the years.
It's taken a long time, yeah. It's like I would say every couple of months I add a new mushroom.
Oh wow! How many mushrooms do you know?
The list. I don't know off the top of my head, but probably around. I've probably tried around 25 to 30 different.
Hold on a second. How many different mushrooms are there outside?
Hundreds.
Like all
Thousands,
the
probably.
shapes and colors different every time, or is it just like slight variations?
It depends which family of mushrooms you're looking at. So
I like where this is going.
you know, like a fairly common one, I guess that people know a lot about, chicken of the woods.
Okay.
Because it's bright orange, it grows off the side of a tree, it looks like an alien life form.
And it tastes like chicken?
It doesn't taste like chicken.
Okay, cool.
Everybody
Nice.
says, it tastes like chicken. It doesn't taste like chicken.
Okay.
It's got a texture very similar to chicken, and you can then add spices and things to it, and it's great as a replacement in like a sort of shawarma type thing or something like that.
I like this.
You know what you've got heavily spiced.
Yeah.
But it doesn't taste like chicken. I don't care how many people say, "Oh, this thing tastes like chicken." It doesn't taste like chicken.
But it has a very specific shape and color.
Yeah. And it's also got a kind of a taste of its own that's nice. Anyway,
So-
what were we saying?
No, I was just asking. So over the years, you've been accumulating knowledge. You said you know about 25 different mushrooms over the hundreds and hundreds that exist in the world. I'm just stunned by the variety that I completely missed. But I'm thinking, what was in this foraging act the most important? Building up knowledge or building up confidence?
Definitely knowledge, because that answers itself.
I'm very
doesn't it?
confident. This mushroom, I'm going to eat it.
This one is definitely fine. No. It has to be knowledge. In fact, if anything, you need to be a little bit underconfident.
Okay.
You need to.
okay.
I guess you need to.
Safer.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to put this out as a disclaimer, by the way, just as a disclaimer. If you're going to go foraging, right, off the back of listening to this, do not just go out there and start trying things. The best thing that you can possibly do is go with somebody else who hopefully is accredited, that would be the optimum thing. A professional forager who does tours or that sort of thing.
I didn't even know that existed. You could be accredited for that.
Do you know what? Don't quote me on that.
amazing.
I don't know if there is an accredited thing, but at least somebody who does it professionally. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
like
getting
an
at.
authority.
Yes. Go with them and listen to what they have to tell you. Short of that, make sure that you've got not just one book on the thing. Don't just look for an app that like identifies mushrooms. Have a few different sources, so you can cross-reference different things on it, and try that. I've got actually. I tell you what, I'm not going to say them all now, but there are some resources that I could, if people wanted to look into it, that I could put out there. But for example, the first mushroom I ever found was a thing called a giant puffball mushroom. Right?
Oh, I know these.
It's the size of a football or
Balloon,
a soccer
yeah.
ball. It's pure white, and if you cut through it, it's white all the way through it. And in the foraging book that I had, it's like you cannot mistake this for anything else.
Okay.
So I was like, cool, that's my in. That's how I get into this world, because it's easily identifiable. After that,
How did you feel? How did you feel when you picked it up?
amazing. I was if I've got a picture somewhere, I'll send it to you of me holding this thing.
Yes.
So excited. It was like Christmas morning, a kid on Christmas morning. I'd found this thing. I was like, I can't believe it, that this huge football-sized mushroom that I can eat. And I've found it. And it was just on the
Free?
floor over there. It's free.
And available and just open to being picked up.
And you know what, though? There maybe there is a little bit of... Even then, even though the books were like, this is definitely safe, you can definitely take this one, there's something about there being a little bit of trepidation or a small amount of fear before you eat the thing. It forces you to be present whilst you're eating it.
Oh.
You're not thinking about other stuff, because literally all you're thinking about is this thing safe? Even if you're like 100% sure, and you should be, there's still a little bit of like, but what if this, but what if that?
But do you still enjoy the thing? Do you enjoy the experience when
Absolutely,
you eat them? If you've got some risk inside your mind.
It's a very small percentage, but this is the thing. I think people think, if I've bought something from a supermarket, no risk involved.
I mean that's the common sense. If you buy something from a supermarket, most of the time that's why people do it. I think
That's not true though necessarily. What if you've got a peanut allergy?
Yeah, I guess that
not even
that wouldn't work.
Not even necessarily just a peanut allergy. If you're allergic to any of the things in the store, then there's a danger there.
Yeah, it's poison to you.
Also, things go wrong in that world. Yeah, it's very rare.
You're right.
Very rare. But shouldn't it be better if we take that back into our own hands in a way? Like,
it's probably
people think that all food is safe, and it's not true. I've got a brilliant example for you, okay? You might not want to go foraging, right? How would you feel about picking fruit and veg out of a garden and eating that?
Fine. I've been doing this my whole life. My grandma had a garden. I was picking fruits all the time.
So, during this break...
Safe.
Safest.
Yeah,
of course.
I think
totally safe.
Probably safer than the supermarket.
100%, right? Got to be safe.
Can't be wrong.
Not true. So,
Hold on.
recently...
it's a trap.
In the garden, I've been growing courgettes, okay?
Cool. Nice. Big ones, small ones?
They're not that big, though. They weren't getting that big, but they were ones that I'd grown them from seeds that I'd saved from last year's batch, and last year's batch were delicious.
Cool.
So, making a stir fry for me and my friend.
Nice.
Chop up a few courgettes, pop them into the stir fry.
I don't like where this is going.
We sit down to eat. This was like this was an early lunch. It was like maybe 11:30.
Okay.
We sit down to eat. I take a first mouthful, and I thought, there's something weird about this.
Hold on a second. As quickly as this, you realize something as quickly as this.
Listen. So I sit down and I start to eat, and I think there's something. I don't mean in my gut. I mean on my palate. Okay. And I was like, oh, it's really bitter. That's what it is. And I thought, what is that? That's weird. So I have another mouthful. I was like, no, this is quite bitter. I turn to my friend and I say, it just tastes really bitter to you. And he's like, no, trying to be polite. He's like, no, it's fine. So I have another mouthful. And I was like, no, no, this is something in this is really bitter. So I go over to the sauce that I'd made for the stir fry. I try that. I was like, no, that's not bitter. Go back to the bowl. I have another mouthful, and he's like, yeah, actually, it is quite bitter. Then I take a piece of the courgette and I eat just the courgette by itself.
Yes.
It's the most bitter thing I've ever eaten. It totally consumes my palate with bitterness.
How is that possible?
Acrid almost, right? Oh, and I was like, and I said to him, you know, it's funny because in the sort of world of foraging and things, if you eat something that's bitter, the indication normally is that it's poisonous.
Poison, yeah.
And he said, I might stop eating this.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I was like, just Google bitter courgette. Because I was like, it's definitely the courgette.
Oh, man.
Just Google
it's going
bitter
down
courgette.
and down this story. Yes.
So gets Google up. I'm not looking at it. He's looking at it. And he's like, yeah, I think we might have a bit of an upset stomach. And I was like,
oh, dang.
Okay. He's like, yeah, bitter courgette's not good. And for then, I left it there. Went to go and clean up whatever. We stopped eating. Then I was like, nah, I've got to look this up myself. Look it up. First result. Couple die in Germany after eating courgette stew.
Shut up.
No, seriously.
How did you feel? Did you
worried?
Vomit?
Well, no. So I started reading this thing, and it was like, basically, it said, in order to eat enough for it to kill you, you've got to eat a lot of this thing.
Okay.
And it's quite difficult because it's so bitter.
Ah.
And I thought, okay.
This is terrible.
This has been a while since this happened. I was like, no, this is not. Anyway, so I start looking it up. It's this thing called cucurbitacin poisoning. Okay? And sometimes a courgette plant just decides, for no reason whatsoever, it's going to concentrate. Apparently, all courgettes have got trace amounts of this toxin in it.
It's like a demon courgette.
Exact demon courgette. It just decides I'm going to flood these fruits with high levels of this toxin. It's like a natural thing to stop predators from taking the fruit or something.
Is it hold on a second. So naturally this would occur like once in X.
I guess it's a bit like you know padron peppers, the little green fried tapas peppers. They're little green peppers like this, and you fry them and put salt on them.
Oh, yeah. I got a different name for them. Yes.
A 1 in 1,000 is spicy. You know that thing?
Okay.
Like
No, I didn't know
spicy.
about this. Okay.
I've never had a spicy one, but apparently 1 in 1,000 are.
Okay.
So it's like this thing. Just sometimes, for whatever reason, the plant goes, right, I'm putting this toxin into the thing. So I'm reading up the symptoms, and it's saying dizziness. I was like, yeah. Let's say like
you had dizziness.
Hour and a half, 2 hours later, it's like dizziness. Yeah, have that. Diarrhea, yeah, have that. Nausea, yeah, I definitely feel sick.
I would freak out.
Vomiting. Well, I hadn't got to the stage of vomiting, and
but it's coming
all
up.
the other reports were like people who've had it bad, they were vomiting a lot. So I was like, okay, maybe I don't have it so bad.
Yeah.
The last symptom was, and this was the kicker: severe hair loss. Because there's a story about 2 women from France that had eaten this courgette dish, and a week later, all of their hair had fallen out.
I can't believe you. This is a horror story.
I know, man. Look it up. I swear to God.
This is the worst poison in the world.
Exactly. Anyway, so I'm like, if it doesn't kill me, you're gonna
be bald.
I mean, I'm going that way anyway. You know, I'm getting on.
But not that soon.
Exactly.
Not that soon. Yeah.
Anyway, so after
this is terrible.
So we spent like I would say 10 hours sort of watching Netflix and just constantly going to the toilet and being worried and feeling bad. It eventually subsided and wore off. But this is what I'm saying. Not always everything that you think is safe is going to be.
But I don't know what's the most horrifying part of this story. The worst to me at the moment is that it's a natural courgette poison.
But what does the word natural? I mean,
it's self-generated by the courgette.
Yeah.
Which makes it... I thought courgettes were my friends.
Well, you know, they can still be, but you've just got to... Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So after this, I read, how do I know in future when I'm taking a courgette, is it going to be poisonous?
Okay.
And it says, all you do is you chop a bit of the top off, you give it a little lick on the courgette, and... If it's really bitter, that's not going to poison you just from that little lick. But if it's really bitter, then you know that it's bad. Now, admittedly, I had to go through a poisoning in order to get this piece of information, but I feel more empowered now about knowing about that than if it hadn't happened. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure.
I've got a piece of knowledge where I'm like, okay, so from now on, I definitely know when I can and can't eat a courgette.
And this definitely established that food from the garden isn't safer.
Not always, no.
Not always. At least not always.
Yeah.
It's not like 100% sure that this is not going to kill you. What happens next time you cook courgette? Are you going to do the test?
Of course.
Every time?
Yeah.
But are you going to do it with tomatoes and cucumbers and fennel? And
I don't know if they've got any...
Well, let's
level of
wait for the
poison
next
in it.
intoxication.
But this is the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with there being... With you understanding that there is a small amount of danger whenever you eat something. Like, that's the reality of it. And it's not that we should be living in fear, but it's just... I feel empowered in a way that I'm like... And this is part of the thing of foraging. I have to be more knowledgeable about the stuff that I'm eating, and I don't see that as a bad thing. It just means that I'm more connected to the food, and I understand that you know, this hundreds of years ago, we would have all had this knowledge passed down to us from previous generations to understand, here's the things you can eat, here's the things you can't eat. Whereas now, we've just handed that off to the supermarkets and gone, right, we trust you with this now. You take that knowledge off of us. And in a way, I guess I want to try and reclaim a bit of that back.
But I like at least your I'm not sure I'm ever gonna eat the courgette that you hand me. No. But what I liked very much about your approach, you were still conscious about what you were eating. You were eating, and because you cook and because you like food as well, probably you said, well, this on top of tasting bitter, it tastes unusual.
Yeah.
Abnormal.
Yeah.
This is not a classic situation. There might be a problem.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I think that part of the thing that you've got to have is to be connected. Listen to what your mouth, your body is telling you.
It's sending you tons and
sending
tons
you
of
a message.
Information
exactly.
like wrong, alert.
So,
we got something wrong going on.
And that's exactly the same thing that you should take into foraging. Even if, for example, you've gone. But look, what I'm saying is, if you're like, all right, I've found this thing. The book says it's this. I've done all the tests. It says that's the right thing. If you've still got a gut feeling that you're like, there's something off here, then leave it.
Yes, understood.
Do you know what I mean?
It is your life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It is your body, your taste, your reaction, your metabolism. So you got to be listening to it, even though, I mean, it happened to me even with supermarket stuff many times. Like, for example, I was chatting with a friend sometime, and he said, and I quote, sometimes when you open up, chicken that is wrapped in plastic, it smells bad. And I was like, well, if it were to really smell bad, I wouldn't eat that.
Uh-huh.
He said, well, when you cook it, it kills all the bacteria, and I'm going to put spice. That sounds absolutely not something safe or sane or something that no one should do ever. Trust your nose. Your nose is telling you it doesn't smell good. If I were to put something in my mouth and it tastes acidic, brutally acidic, it's not.
You wouldn't.
I had this with the tomato very recently. It's funny. I have bitten into a tomato. It was too soft. When something's too soft, you could be on the rotten side. And then they have this, not funky, but too acidic vibe to it. I immediately spat it out. Because it screams like wrong. And to go further than what you just said, you were responsible for you and your friends somehow. Did you? Because you cooked the meal. I mean, it's not as if you were responsible for it. But no one ever in the world would taste a courgette before cooking it, apart from you now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't feel any responsible for such a move, but it feels like you're nourishing people, you're feeding people. So yeah. There's an extra layer of care that is involved there.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I mean. You've got to kind of take that into your own hands. And here's the point, I suppose. What we've done basically as a culture is just handed that off to the supermarkets or whoever it is.
Right.
So people might, for example, someone might get something from a supermarket, start to eat it. They might do the reverse, like as in they'll start to eat it and go, this doesn't taste right. But instead of trusting that thing of going, it doesn't taste right, so I'm going to stop eating it, they'll go, it must be fine because it's come from the supermarket, which is a fallacy.
So right.
This is the thing. People think that just because it's come from that place, that it has to be safe. And to be fair, most of the time it is, because their kind of livelihood relies on it. So they try and make sure that doesn't happen. But it's this weird thing that people would be like, someone sees me picking a blackberry and they go, oh, you're picking blackberries? And they go, yeah. And they go, that's totally fine because they're not poisonous, right? And people have just got that into their head. They're like, that's okay. I was once out picking oyster mushrooms from a tree, and a guy walked past and he said, do you know what you're doing? I said, what do you mean? He's like, with them, do you know whether they're poisonous or not? And I said, I've got no idea. Shall I try them? I was joking.
Did you?
You know, of course I knew what I was doing. Like, I've picked these mushrooms a lot
I was terrified
before.
for a moment.
But the guy was like, yeah, he's like, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, I've got no idea, mate. Shall we try them and find out? And he looked, anyway.
Yeah, it's
the point that I'm making is this, I think, that people have an idea in their head. It's like what they like to have is like, okay, I know that this is safe and that is unsafe. So after that, I don't have to listen to my smell, taste, judgment, anything anymore, because this is safe. And in 99% of the cases, that's true. But sometimes we have to listen to our intuition and gut and that sort of thing and know.
And when the food is coming from a trusted place, that voice sometimes get drawn, get not listened to enough. Let's go back to the first experience that I shared. While I was at the top of the mountain eating blueberries, why did I decided to eat these in the first place? Well, when someone mentioned they were blueberries, I saw them. I've seen blueberries in the past, even though these, as they were wild blueberries, they didn't look exactly like the one I've seen in grocery stores.
Were they small?
Yeah, they were smaller and darker. But who did I trust? A random guy that was passing by and saying, hey, these are blueberries, have some. He was just trying to poison me.
Did you see him eat one?
I did not. He just said they were blueberries. And I had memories of my family and I, picking up blueberries in the mountains, very similar ones. And I thought, yeah, this brings back memories. And I feel like I use my memories as a trust agent.
Well, you're still here.
And also I was very precautious, exactly as you said, because I was picking them up. And I was like, yeah, this is all fun. But then not secretly, but I was tasting them and I was full on detection mode.
Yeah.
I was like, is there anything too acidic? It should be a bit acidic, a bit sweet. It shouldn't be bitter. It shouldn't be too soft. It should be a bit bouncy. There shouldn't be any funky smell, any weird taste. I was expecting something, and when it delivered, I felt a bit of relief somehow, and then I thought, well, it's probably safe, even though they were on the ground, so there could have been some pee on it.
I mean, were the things roaming around in that area?
You never know. I don't know.
I think that, by the way, I might be wrong, because you were in a mountainous region and they were like blueberries but smaller. I think they're what we call here bilberries, which are basically like a wild form of blueberry. I've had them before and they're really super delicious.
Yeah, I had like probably 5 or 6.
Well, there you go. That's even that might be sort of a portion control thing. In that, if I'm gonna, for example,
I wanted more.
Well, but why did you stop? Because of that fear that you thought, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, plus the fact that I was doing I was doing some sport, so I thought if I ever get diarrhea from it, I'm gonna be in trouble. So let's just limit the risk. That's what I thought. But also, yes, I was thinking if I get poison, maybe the intake volume has an impact as well. So I don't know.
Exactly.
I didn't feel. To be very honest, I think looking at your experience with courgette, you're basically turning my world upside down. Because you're basically using the safest thing I had in mind, a courgette, bland, soft, found in all gardens. I would never look at a courgette and be intimidated. And then you said, well, they can be the worst poison in the world. And you can lose your little curly French hair.
That's the bit that I was more worried about, honestly. I was like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go. But don't make me live with no hair.
It's the worst poison in the world. It's like a sadistic poison. It lets you live, but you will lose all your hair and you will be deaf from one ear.
Look, all I'm saying
poison.
is this. And this is the same with the whole world. And I'm not saying this to invoke fear. I'm trying to do the opposite. But safety is an illusion. Like, we feel like we are safe, so therefore everything's all right. But, you know, I think what's better than that is to try and take back into your own hands some level of autonomy with just being aware of what you're putting into your body, what you're consuming. Like, for example, you know, people might go, well, I'll eat a McDonald's because I know that's safe. But if you eat enough of them, that's going to be bad for you. Do you know what I mean? There's like there's, I think it's about being able to listen to your body and your senses and your...
trust your gut.
Yeah, exactly.
If your mind, your body tells you it's wrong, I think that's an amazing advice. In all situations, foraging, gathering, like gardens, even supermarket, any food that comes to your mouth, if it feels wrong, it is wrong.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason could be. It's about taking back control.
Yes, absolutely. It's about taking back autonomy over your ability to know whether something is good for you or not. Because when you hand that off to somebody else, they can... I'm not saying that they are abusing it, but you know, there's that kind of thing of it's like, do I really want to let a supermarket have control of that sort of thing?
I like this very much. I like this idea very much. It's also about accepting and limiting and going beyond fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Understanding the risk, evaluating the risk, and then deciding on whether you feel it's safe for you or you don't feel it's safe. It's about making decisions for yourself, but not being inhibited by fear. Yeah, it's a very interesting subject, but I also like what you said earlier and have some knowledge. We never have enough knowledge in this.
Exactly.
And having someone that helps you doesn't prevent you from getting your own knowledge. It's always good. I find it always nourishing to read and understand things, both from a theoretical and practical point of view.
I would say that like to anybody, genuinely do this. Like in terms of arming yourself with knowledge, let's say you're out on a walk and you see some sort of fruit on a tree and you think, I think that looks like a plum or whatever it might be. I'm not saying that you have to eat it, but at the very least, like, you know, get the phone out and do a little Google and sort of say, you know, like wild plum or try and see if you can identify what the thing is. I'm not saying...
At least understand.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
don't eat it, but try to understand what it is.
I'm not saying that you have to take that next step and eat it, but have a go at understanding what it is, because this is the other thing is when you know about things like that, your experience of being in nature becomes richer because you're walking through the woods or whatever, and it's not just, oh look, a green leaf, a berry, blah blah blah. Suddenly you start to see differences in things because you know about them.
But it takes knowledge to accumulate. It takes time.
Yeah, sure.
And it takes people as well.
Yeah,
I like the idea of learning from authorities, from people who have experience as well, because it's nice because it puts you also in this human vibe to it. Someone, I'm just picturing the thing as a movie in my mind, but someone older than you, you know, these mushrooms have grown up with these.
Gennaro Contaldo, that's the idea.
Gennaro Contaldo.
Get him to take you out mushroom hunting.
To be honest, if I were to walk with this guy and if he were to tell me this mushroom is amazing, I wouldn't even question it.
Exactly.
That's a problem. And then I would fall into my own trap because we said earlier, even if you have an authority, trust your own gut first.
I don't know.
Be your own king.
There's a difference between Gennaro Contaldo, though, and a faceless corporation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. But it's good. It's putting people back, and it's putting me back in my shoes as well. Next time I'm going to have a courgette, I'm going to think about you.
Well, just chop the top off, have a little lick, see if it's bitter first, and then, you know.
I promise. I'll phone you immediately if I found one. If that's a joke, I'm going to take it very bad. Thank you, man, so much for this story.
No
very
worries.
Interesting one.
That's good. I'm glad I'm still here. I'm glad I'm still here that we can do this, and the courgette didn't take me.
I'm glad as well. I'm glad as well. Be safe, man. Okay.
You too.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.